day. Blessings to everyone. Welcome to a series that is going to be started on relationships. I am your presenter, your host, Brother Devon, and I wish that everyone is having a fantastic day. And if you are not, I pray that your day would improve as we go through this dialogue. This is meant really for women as well as men, but more so for women to listen in and hopefully get an insight to what several men think on relationships, etc. It's something really to take heed to, hopefully be able to be blessed as my endeavor is to be very honest, to share thoughts on several views that men would have in regards to relationships. And my thrust is to be as honest as I possibly can, with ultimately being respectful in this entire dialogue, in this entire series. Now, I have posted in the description a link to my book, my second book, which is set towards assisting those women who want to get some insights into the thinking of some men. It's meant to really help whether you are a Christian or you are not a Christian. For those who know already that I am a believer, I believe in Jesus Christ. But for those who are not a Christian, you can also be able to read the material and hopefully be able to see the glory of God and His love and His compassion, even within the material, within the book description. The description has the link to the book. I believe it will carry you to Amazon where persons could purchase the book online. For those who need a copy, a tangible copy, persons could also reach out to me, send a message or what have you. But let's get into today's part one. And what I want to do is to look at things from an average guy perspective. I'm going to try to share certain things when it comes to meeting your requirements, ladies. Many women have requirements that are set towards men. Your man, the guy that you want to get in a relationship, you want to have certain requirements that the man meets. He must meet certain requirements. And these things are important. These types of conversations are important because what you should know is that many times men are not privy to the sessions that women have. Several times we have sessions where women meet with each other and they have discussions about men and the things that men think on the things that men do, on the things that men say. And many times you all will meet with one another, and that's good. That's not a bad thing at all. But often the man, many men are not a part of that type of dialogue. So the man's take on particular views, particular things that will be said, thought, done, can be a bit of a loss because he's not there. The men are not there to have that dialogue with you, so they could agree or disagree. And I think any woman that has had conversations with men, you will find that men see things very different in certain respects from women, and that's fine. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that per se, but it is important that we understand that sometimes you will come out of your sessions, and these sessions could be really good, the gatherings, the meetings could be very good, but then how does it work out in terms of real life? Are there men who are really and truly connecting with the things that you would have shared, with things that you would have agreed, discussed. Not saying anything is bad or everything is bad, but is it true that the men are picking up and they are following through with what you would have discussed in your meeting? That's the question. We have several persons who want to get into relationships. Several persons are looking for that Prince Charming, that man of their dreams. Several women are looking for that man of their dreams. But the reality of life is that life is not a dream, life is reality. If we all had things the way we dreamed it, then there would most likely be no pain, no sufferings, no downs. Everything will be up constantly. But the reality of life teaches us that there's a lot of downs in life. And therefore, we have to deal with reality. We have to deal with the practicality of life. So I want to make sure and say that when it comes to a woman having requirements for a man, that in and of itself is not a bad thing. That is actually a very good thing. If you as a woman, you are seeking a husband, you are looking for that love of your life, and you have requirements, that is actually good. Very, very good. It's good to have requirements. It's good to have standards. It's good to have goals. But your goals and your realities have to meet reality. Your goals and your standards, they have to face with reality. Now, the challenge with all of this is one learning to balance their faith with reality. We have several believers, several of my fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. We champion the cause of faith. And faith, as the scripture speaks, is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And we must stand strong when it comes to faith. But how do we balance faith and reality? Are we supposed to say, for example, because I have faith, I can walk off a bridge? I can walk off a bridge 2,000 feet in the air, walk directly off the bridge because I have faith? Is it because I have faith I can close my eyes? I should close my eyes and cross the busy highway. Is it because I have faith I should leave my job when God has not directly told me that, clearly told me? Clearly, this is important. Some people say God tells them to do things and God never told them. They told themselves. No. Am I supposed to have faith and leave my job while I have 4 children to take care of and just decide to sit home and wait for God to provide for me because I have faith? No. And some persons might think that I am being extreme, but actually, there are people who think like those things. It will shock some folks to find out the distances some people go when it comes to this faith aspect, which is very, very valid. I'm not trying to diminish faith at all. But we have to balance faith with reality, not trying to undercut faith, but you have to deal with the practicality of life. God is a provider. God will provide. We say that and we are true in that statement. It's very correct. But even though God is a provider, you have to get up. You have to bathe, brush your teeth, pray. You have to eat breakfast. You have to prepare the breakfast. God is not going to prepare the breakfast for you, even though He prepared the table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have to prepare the table, meaning that you have to go in the fridge, you have to go in the cupboards, you have to pull out the items, you have to prepare it. God is not going to boil the water. God is not going to cut up the vegetables. No, He's not. So the practicality of life, that balancing of life, is that God gives certain things, and how we utilize our skills and our giftings, our abilities, is very important to how we connect with one another, how you build relationships. So you ought to have faith when it comes to relationships, but you have to deal with practicality. You have to deal with reality in light of the faith. You will have to speak to an actual person. You are not going to speak to a spirit. If you have, ladies, you have a guy in your life, if you have met a guy, you are not talking to a spirit. You are talking to an actual person that you can touch. Flesh and bones, you are going to touch flesh and bones. A spirit does not have flesh and bones, but you are going to actually touch a person. You are going to be speaking with an individual. So, as much as we champion faith, and at no time am I trying to discount faith, as much as we champion faith, you have to balance faith with reality. You have to be able to see the person, touch the person, speak with the person, and so on when you seek a relationship. So I want to hit those things as we get more into this conversation about meeting your requirements, ladies, when you are seeking a possible partner, a husband. I'm being very specific, a husband. Woman, you are supposed to seek a husband, which is a man. And men, you are supposed to seek a wife, which is a woman. Okay? I am not going to compromise the word of God. I am going to say that a man was made for a woman was created for the man. Okay? I know there are several things that are going on in this world and have been going on for years, but we are establishing God's standards, God's will, God's will. Another point I want to raise is that of putting on too much, I should say, on a passage. Sometimes we read the Bible, for my fellow believers. Sometimes we read the Bible and we read a particular text and we carry a text a certain level that the text is not carrying a particular issue. So, in light of faith, we want to believe that because the Bible talks about faith, the Bible talks about giving you the desires of your hearts, ladies and gentlemen, brothers. The Bible talks about that. Yet, while the Bible does talk about having faith and giving you the desires of your heart, we must be incredibly careful with that. Because some of us may be thinking that when it comes to giving you the desires of your heart, it means whatever you want. That's not necessarily true. We always want something. The nation of Israel, they wanted a lot of things. They were known as God's people. Please understand that. They were known as God's people. And they had many desires of their hearts. And some of the desires were not necessarily what God was saying. You might want something. I might want something. But is the desires of my heart everything that I want? Or is it really and truly the things on holiness and righteousness? What we must know, or we ought to know, is that the primary context of the passage is in alignment with holiness. The desires of your heart. God wants to give you the desires of your heart, but it must align with holiness. And the height of your man, the texture of his hair, the color of his skin, that has no basis on holiness. That has no basis on righteousness or unrighteousness. Yeah, the guy could be 6 feet tall, 4 feet tall. The guy could be very slim. He could be very thick. That has no bearings on holiness and righteousness. The ultimate thing when it comes to the desires of your heart, it really, the backdrop of that is holiness and righteousness. So when it comes to assessing a man, that you might want, ladies, you ought to be actually not putting too many requirements on that text and saying, for example, I want a tall man, 6 feet tall, 7 feet tall. I want a bodybuilder guy. I want him to look very strong, like Hulk. All right. He needs to have this massive body. I want him to be able to be the best romantic guy in the world. You see, those are nice desires, but those things have nothing to do with holiness and righteousness. Those are just your preferences. And the thing about it is, many of us will have preferences. I want a woman, for example, I could use this and say, I want a woman who wears the color dress that I like. She only wears this type of dress. I want a woman with this toned skin. Yeah, but if God now decides to give me a woman with a different toned skin, if he blesses me with a woman, he presents a woman in my path who wears pants or skirts instead of dress, what am I going to do? Say, whoa, God, that's not the desire of my heart. Whoa, hold up, my friend. I thought it was his will be done. And there's a balancing there. Yes, there is God's will, his will being done. And yes, there is the desires of your heart. But how his will is going to be done and your desires of your heart coming in alignment, two of those things coinciding, is number one, the foundation is that God's will be done. That's the foundation. God's will being done. And we trust God in that light. We are showing God that, Lord, I don't really know. I have made a mess of several things. You know, Lord, I put it in your hands. I want to highlight something for persons. When the servant of Abraham went to seek a wife for Isaac, the servant didn't have a whole lot of requirements, you know. Everybody could always read over that passage in Genesis, and you will see there were quite a different set of requirements then than what several of us in our modern day time try to apply on people. Several of us try to place a lot of requirements, ladies and gents, on people that might have you waiting quite a long time to get that person. You might find yourself, ladies, gentlemen, you might find yourself waiting quite a long time before you could meet this person that makes all these requirements, that ticks all these boxes. And I know several persons might be saying, but Brother Dev, it's not really that long, you know. Well, if you wrote it down, you might think it's not that long. But when you actually have meetings with people, when you actually converse with people, when you meet someone that has ticked off about 10 of those 11 boxes, for example, if there are so many, there are other things that that person is going to come up with, and you will see that no, this person isn't the right fit. So we might think you have a short list, and to be honest, many of us, our lists are longer than we profess. We say there may be 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 items on that list, requirements that that person must fit. It might end up being, most of the times, nope, there are way more requirements that we have on that list because we might continually be finding problems within the people that we encounter from day to day. So you meet Jason, for example, today. Jason ticked off 9 things out of the list of 11. And because Jason didn't hit the other 3, or the other 2, I should say, Jason is out. And Jason has some other things that are cons. Now, I am not advocating for anyone to say, well, just don't have any standards, kick out all your pros and your cons, and, just take whatever you have, take whatever you get. No, I'm not saying that. But we ought to be very wise when it comes to the requirements that we set out that someone has. I myself had several requirements when I was much younger. But as I grew older, even some of the things that I said that this person might have, that this person might be a Christian, right? This person might be a believer, but then you had some other things that worked heavily against you, very, very heavily against you. So just being a Christian is not the be all and the end all. I would definitely tell everyone that. Okay? So getting back to that third point that I had here, let us not put too much on a particular passage. Let us not carry a text further than what we see the text identifying in light of its backdrop. Moving on, there are certain things we want a man to have. Ladies want a man to have, right? So you want a man to have a particular stature, sometimes financially. And here's the difficult thing, the challenging. I wouldn't let me not say difficult. I prefer to say challenging. Here is the challenging thing about that. You see, ladies, many men speak about this. As we see, we're looking at this from a male's perspective, from the average guy. Guys get together, ladies. They get together, they talk about women, they talk about women who are interested in them, not interested in them, wouldn't give them the light of day. All right, we know there are bad guys. Yes, there are bad guys, but all guys are not bad. All guys are not monsters. No, just like all ladies are not bad, they are not beasts either. So we want to be fair here. But with the guys that may be possible contenders, some sisters have chosen to put aside a guy because he doesn't meet a particular stature. It could be height, it could be, some other thing. Finances is one of the major issues. Because this man does not have this particular financial earning, he is put aside. Now, we live in a day and a time where a lot of women are being well educated, they are landing jobs, and being well paid, and so on. And, the question comes, should a woman be with a man that earns less money than her? Now, I'll be very honest with everyone. This is my position. If money is the found is if I know money is a serious thing, but if money is the foundation for you to be with me, then do not be with me. That's my position. And there are many brothers that see things the very same way. If you would only check me because I have money or a certain amount of money, it's best you don't be with me. And I'll tell you, ladies, this personally, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with you telling me, Dev, Devon, you you are not in my bracket. I mean, that will hurt, because to me it kind of says something about you. But that's just me personally. I wouldn't go too far with that. But that would hurt. However, I could appreciate your honesty, and we can still be friends. I can still say, "Yo, what's up, sister?" But I do not want to be in a relationship with you at all. I rather be with someone who loves me and who is willing to build with me. Now, for the women who don't want to build with a man, even from foundation, from grassroots, if you don't want to build, I mean, that's your choice. But there are many men out there who will see that type of approach and be turned off terribly. And while several women wait and wait and wait for the type of guy who has their financial um, requirements, several other women will take up that guy who you left back, and they will make something out of what you perceived probably as being to be nothing. They will build. They will build, they will grow. And I personally know of women who decided, this one is not good enough because of financial this and that. And later on, later on, I'll tell you something. A lot of guys move on. Ladies, I'll tell you that. A lot of guys move on. Some of us, we show interest, and several of us, we are genuine. And when we realize that, we haven't met your standard and your requirements, or other words, we are not good enough, we move on. And I personally have experienced women coming back to me. And by the time you come trying to start something, I am not interested. No, I can be your friend and we are not enemies. I have love for you as the love of Christ, but I am not interested in you. Seeing that I have met someone or I am looking for someone, wow, well, you are not the person anymore. Now, I want to be fair because there are men who would give a woman another chance. You might have not taken heed to a guy before, and later on, now you are paying attention to him, and he is single. And yeah, he might he might give you another chance. Perhaps you would have matured, and that's good because I want to highlight this space for maturity. We all need space to grow, but some opportunities are not coming back again. Certain opportunities are not coming back. So some persons would have kept back on a guy to go and pursue their dream guy, and the years are rolling by. The years are rolling by while you wait for a guy that has this particular financial standing. And while other people jump up, there are some men will jump up and some women will jump up and say, no, a man needs to provide for his woman. If you can't provide for your woman, if you don't have the money to provide for your woman, some men will jump up like that. And they will say, no, girl, don't go for that guy. You are selling yourself short, which is another part we touch when coming to this subject. You're selling yourself short, girl. Don't go for that guy. And this is a bit of a triple-edged sword. Now you find yourself hearing what these people say, and several of them either alone or they or they already have somebody in their life. So while they discourage you, either they are alone, they don't have someone in their own life, or they have already gotten someone and they have moved. And I'll tell you this, many people don't tell you their history, they don't tell you their past of what has happened. Plus, the reality of now is that we live in a current world with many changes. So we cannot fully compare our current world, our current age, to our parents' day and so on. Several things were available and affordable, and several things could have happened in our parents' day, and things have shifted a bit in our day and time. Am I saying that now a woman is supposed to take care of a man? She's supposed to be the provider for the home? Not necessarily. No, I'm not trying to go along that path. But what I'm saying is that to discount a guy because of his financial situation should not just happen by the way. Deep thought, conversation, and all of that should occur first, because we don't want to be promoting the idea of a woman just going with a guy that is not even trying. He doesn't have a goal, he doesn't have any achievements at all in his life. No, we are not trying to say, I am not trying to say, dear sisters, you are just take any guy, even though he is not successful, even though he has no money, even though he has no job, even though he has no dreams, still take him. No, I'm not saying that. You ought to be able to watch the guy, have a conversation with him, ask him some questions, you all have a discourse. put him to quote unquote the test. I use that word very cautiously, where he is challenged to do better. He's challenged to improve himself. Sometimes a guy needs a little push. All right. Now, I know my extremist friends who would paint a narrative that a man ought to push himself. A woman is never to push a man. I worry about these people sometimes. I think they live in Wonderland with Alice. That's what I believe. We all feel down and we all need a push. Only the macho pretenders are those who paint an image which has impacted men very negatively over the years, where a man is supposed to only be seen as like a rock. He has no emotions, he has no feelings, he doesn't feel down, he doesn't feel discouraged. So we have several persons in society who have done a disservice to men worldwide, wherein we don't have any emotions. We don't have any feelings. And no wonder people beat up on men. No wonder they call us soft if a man cries. Because a man, at the end of the day, he's a man. He's not a human being. Don't know how that works. So if he shows emotion, if he cries, he's weak. He's soft. He's not a man. A man doesn't really cry. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I know that Jesus wept, not because he was weak, but because he had emotions. I know that Jesus wept. So we as men, we do feel down. We do feel discouraged. We do need some motivation from time to time. Who is better to encourage us than our wives? Than the woman that would be in our lives, human wise, right? I'm just dealing with that from a human perspective. But ultimately, our encouragement comes from God. Both the man and the woman, our encouragement comes from God. But it doesn't mean that we cannot be encouraged by one another. A husband can't encourage his wife when she's feeling down. A wife cannot encourage her husband when he's feeling down, and so forth, right? There needs to be cooperation within the relationship. There needs to be a unity, a working together within the relationship. So when we look at the issue of that finances, your career, your future, what you want to build, women, don't simply cast out a guy because the guy hasn't reached your financial standing. You can help build. You can help build a guy. You all can work together. It's a team. And several times other people who are outside of your relationship is probably having a worse relationship, no relationship, or the best relationship, while they advise you out of relationships. Now, if the guy is not a wasteful guy, he has dreams and he is doing some things. He may not be making the thousands of dollars that you are making, but he has ambition. He has goals. Consider the brother. If he is working, consider the brother. More importantly, if he loves God and he loves you, he has shown faithfulness, consider the brother. Some of these things are reasons why we have several single women. I said some, eh? Some. We have several single women in society because you are waiting for a guy that is making $50,000 within whatever time period, while you make $30,000 or $40,000. And if you meet a guy making, let's say, $10,000, within that whatever time period, you kick him out because he's below your standard. You kick him out. And as I said before, another woman, and these things have happened over and over again in this world. Another woman comes and meets that woman, that man who makes that $10,000, and they are able to rise to supersede $50,000. They are able. We all of us, we know about the downs. We know about the negatives, about the man who made 10,000, the woman who made 50,000, and she got with him, and they had a terrible relationship, and he never rose. But all men are not like that. Just like all women are not encouraging and supportive. But you need to check the potential guys that are around you when it comes to having a relationship. And a man, ladies, I want to say this, a man who is appreciative, he watches when that woman is there willing to consider him. A nice a nice tip for the ladies who are making the $50,000 to not have this guy be for with you because of your money. Don't go telling the guy how much money you makes. As a matter of fact, I would strongly advise women. The first time you meet a guy, you don't go telling that man how much money you make. And there are women who do things like that, nonsensical things like that, because you are trying to gauge the man and let the man know up front, I make $50,000. You need to meet this level, or you are out. Well, one of two things: either the guy is going to be discouraged and decide, hey, I'm out, or he might decide, whoa, let me take advantage of this. So it's best to keep that type of information once you have determined if this person is a right pick for you person wise. How much you earn, that's your business. That's not the guy's business. That's not his business at all. Not in the early phases of court dating, getting to know this person. Keep that information under wraps. Let yourself have the opportunity to learn this person. You decide to just be buying stuff for the person because of your love for the person. Be careful with that. Be careful with that. A guy might be with you because of your money and not because of you. So certain information should be kept back until the appropriate time. And it's always wise to get counsel from other men who are in your life, like your brothers, your cousins, your father, your uncles, you know, your good friends that are male, that are not, trying to get with you, but more so family members, true brothers in Christ, strong brothers who are not coming and trying to be with you. It's always good to get counsel, get advice. Even sisters, get counsel from sisters before relaying certain levels of information to this individual. Selling yourself short is something that I mentioned earlier, but this is something that we need to be very careful of. I encourage persons to be very careful, male and female. But I think this is really hitting hard towards the woman because men often don't really get that coming to them. You're selling yourself short by going with this woman who makes so much less money than you, or she's not making any money at all. Men don't really get that type of language. You see the differences, people? We have a different approach to men than women. You know, a man could be with a woman, she could make nothing, and nobody has a problem with it. Nobody has a problem with it. The woman can make nothing. She don't have to be working. Everybody is cool with that. If the man makes nothing, we have a problem with that. And I understand several people will say because the man is the provider, the man is supposed to provide. I am with that. I am with that. But please know that it's actually a team effort. It's a team effort. Right now, we are in the COVID time period. Okay, today is Tuesday, December the 21st of December 2021. And COVID hit the world over a year ago, almost 2 years, probably more. Several persons have lost their jobs. If the man was the only person providing in that home, then where is the family? What is the status of the family? If the man is the only person that is bringing in money in the home, it's a team effort. So persons tend to create certain narratives whereby it's just the man alone, he's the provider, and he's the only one who could bring money, should bring money in the home. The Bible doesn't talk about the man being the only one providing for the home alone. As a matter of fact, if you read the book of Proverbs, chapter 31, you'll find out that the woman is actually taking care of her home. She's providing for her home as well. That might shock some people, but it is a team effort. And I strongly encourage people, don't fight up with persons who talk things on extreme levels. There are a lot of extremists out here. Oh, only the man is supposed to provide. If a man can't provide, then you can't get in a relationship with that man. He's the only one. You just stay home, do absolutely nothing. Don't think about working outside. All you need to do is stay home. Well, when hard times come, and they will. Well, if the brother loses his job, which many people have lost for this time period during this COVID, many people, many men who were the sole providers to the home, when they have left, what is their situation? When they are left out of the job, what is the situation of the home? What are all these people who told you, don't don't go and get any job, let him alone provide? Are they coming to your home to provide for you? Are they providing for your children? No, they are not. All they are doing is talking. That's all they do. They are good for talking. That's it. So the idea of selling yourself short for a man that works for less money than you is something that people have devised in their minds. That's what people have devised. It's up to you to decide, or when you consider a partner, consider someone, of being in a relationship with someone, pursuing a relationship. Can your monies together work through your situations? Because when you are in your home, all these other voices are not there with you. If you choose to marry this person, these people are not there in your home when you have to work through your bills, the realities of life. I tend to deal with the realities of life, practical and spiritual. I tend to deal with that. I'm not going to get caught up into the whole hype and all the talk that a lot of people talk, and they are never there to help you. I know it personally. I know how to grow up and go through tough times. And several people, they're not there when you're going through your tough times. I know it personally, one on one, face to face. I know it. My family, we know it. So I don't get caught up in all the talk and talk. Oh, my mom and my dad, they worked together. The both of them worked to carry us through. It wasn't only my father. My father worked. Yes, he worked and he provided for his home. And my mother teamed up. Both of them worked. My father worked before was the sole provider before my mom decided to join together with him and have a team effort. When God created the woman was created to help the man, not simply to just stay in the house, sit down, do nothing, or just cook alone. No, she could cook, she could do all those things. But here what, my friend, the man could cook as well. Yes, he can. So we need to be careful when it comes to the idea of selling yourself short. It's not that it doesn't exist. I do believe persons could sell themselves short, but a proper analysis should be done before just rushing to a conclusion. This is your life. This is your life. And I seriously doubt, sisters, that you want to find yourself at age 50 and you have not established a relationship, husband and wife. I'm not saying it's bad to be single. That's for all my single folks, all the single ladies. I'm not saying it's bad to be single. If that was your choice, that's your choice. But for those who wanted a relationship, don't cut them out of something they desired. If they wanted to have a husband before that age, and it's an issue for them, don't cut them out of their dream. Let them pursue their desire to have a husband, to have a family, to have children. Let them have their desire as well. Let's not be selfish and only think about ourselves, but let us consider others. And there are women, few honest women, who would say, I wanted a husband, but I kept finding problems with every man I met. And I reached a certain age where men weren't paying me attention much, or they no longer wanted me for a wife. They wanted me for other stuff, but not for a wife. And I wanted a husband. There are women who are honest like that, but they are not in the abundance in terms of honesty. In terms of singleness, they are in the abundance. As I get ready to close, I want to repeat that one can lose out on a guy who is going somewhere. You can lose out on a guy. He may not have all these requirements that you want. And because of him not having all your requirements, you could lose out on that guy going somewhere. Right now, there are very influential people in the world, and I'm going to be careful with that because, again, this is from a Christian perspective. I'm not trying to say that everybody in the world, we should try to be like everybody in the world. Absolutely not. But there are persons who are godly and they do have prestige. They may not have big name and so on, like these big athletes and so on. But there are successful people in this world, and they started with pretty much nothing. They started from ground level. And thank God for those women who looked at these men and looked at them for the person they are, looked at them for the ambition they had, worked with them, and built companies, empires, businesses together. They worked with them. You can find yourself kicking out really good guys simply because the guy doesn't have all your requirements. Your basic requirements should be things such as the man loves God, the man is faithful, the man is honest, the man has goals and aspirations. Okay? The guy has respect, conducts himself in an orderly fashion. A few basic stuff. Things such as he needs to be this body weight, he needs to be this tone color, he needs to have these eyes, these color eyes. Yeah, yeah, I've heard that persons might think that I say silly stuff. I tell persons about situations that I know of. I know of a girl going with a guy, and she had her man, and she was willing to go with a guy, a friend of mine, simply because of the color of his eyes. He had some eyes that captivated her, and despite she having her man, she wanted to go and have a time with my friend because of his color eyes. So, so some things sound silly, but we live in a world, and the world has silly people in it. That's just the reality of life. Ladies, I encourage you. Take another look Another approach towards relationships and the possibility of you being with someone, finding a potential husband that will be wonderful to you. Always be careful, always be wise in your choice. Don't rush to decisions to accept a man, but at the very same time, don't rush to decisions to kick out a guy. You can see your Prince Charming being with some other woman and several women. You all know it hurts. Several of you all know very well it hurts to see the man that you rejected 10 years, 20 years ago. He has started a new family with some other woman and he has achieved goals and he was very successful in his life. And you are watching that, and that is grinding you inside, but you are not going to see it. Several women, you all are not going to say it. No, you'll keep that inside. But you know, you know it grinds you. You know that he could have been yours. Why did another woman come and go with this guy when you could have been that woman? Couldn't you have done that? Well, I am not trying to have anybody cry over what we would say for the time being spilt milk. It's done, it's done. But for those who can do better, do better. Seek God. Definitely seek God. But don't call God name in certain things that you did. Because several of us, we love to say, God said no, when God didn't say a thing. You said no. Sometimes God says no to some things, and we hearing yes. Several persons hearing yes, while God saying no. God, is this the one? No. And we are hearing yes. Several women, yes, you know that. You all know that. You all know that. And then here's the interesting thing. Persons will profess they went to God, ask God if this is the one. And they will say that God told them, yes, this is the one. Then after some time, after they would have married this person, they decide to end the relationship because of issues. They turn around and say, I was wrong. Or they try to blame God, that God was wrong. So you see that type of approach? I encourage people, stop lying on God. Some people lie on God. Stop lying on God. Be honest. Say you did it because you wanted it. You wanted this person. At least we could respect honesty. We can respect honesty. Okay? But to simply say that God gave the green light and then afterwards he gave the red light. And the red light was there from the beginning, but I didn't see the red light. I mean, come on. We need to stop that. We need to really, really and truly stop that. We need to take a better approach to this issue when it comes to what we perceive within a relationship. So, as I wrap up here, I pray that what was shared would have been enlightening to some of you ladies. I try to be honest, I try to be respectful, and let you ladies get a bit of an insight as to how some men think. Get things from a male perspective, an average guy's perspective. I have posted in the description a link to my second book, Insight into Understanding Men, Persons can check that book out on Amazon. It's on Kindle, so you could get your hard copy, you could get your soft copy, and it's something that you could have with you, and you could pull out, you could read if you are in some traffic, if you are in a bus, a taxi, airplane, you could pull out, you could read it, you could keep it, and it should give some insight, some advice, some counsel just to the average woman. I'm not trying to be super intellectual. I'm trying to speak to you as a human being, one on one human being, where you see practical examples in life and you can decide how to move forward in your life. So, this is Brother Devon saying, thank you for your time. Check out the book. You can reach out to me and we'll progress according to the will of God. Thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic day. Look out for the part two according to God's grace, mercy, and blessings.